do-overs are sometimes necessary in life and in medicine. And we're talking about a new device that is kind of a next generation recapturable CoreValve. And we're talking about the first U.S. experience with this. I'm with Matthew Williams, co-primary investigator for the study, and the chief of adult cardiac surgery and director of interventional cardiology and structural heart at the NYU Langone Medical Center in New York City. Tell me first about this new recapturable design. Let's start there.
Sure. So it's based on the existing CoreValve technology, which has had some fantastic results, but the system has been modified to make it a more predictable procedure and ultimately, obviously, hopefully safer for the patient. And so there's been a lot of structural modification to the catheter, but basically what it's allowed us to do is place the device exactly where we want. It's a more stable deployment compared to previous systems. But in doing so, it's also been made that if we don't put it in exactly the right spot or have some complications that have occurred in the past, such as maybe too much leakage or the requirement for a pacemaker, the device can be recaptured, repositioned, put in the right spot, which was not available previously. How
often does that happen where you kind of wish you had that opportunity to move just a bit?
It's hard to say, and I think it's not a whole lot. It's probably going to be less than 10% of the time that you're going to need to do that. But it's something that, but when you do, it's there, and it just you feel better. I mean, it's you've got a mulligan, and it's a free one. It doesn't. It's not a concern. And you can even remove the device entirely if you have. Maybe there's a situation where you have a coronary occlusion, which is incredibly rare, but you can actually remove the device. So you.
How difficult is it, or how easy is it to maneuver around with this next generation device?
It's much easier. There's both due to the stability where the device stays in place. So while you can recapture it, the deployment is more reliable. So it's probably less likely with this device that you'll even need to recapture it compared to the other. The other issue is that the size has come down. There's something called an inline sheath now, and so it's the outer diameter is 18 French, which is basically the equivalent of using a 14 French sheath. So in the past, we had to place an 18 French sheath. Now the 14 French sheath is you don't actually have to use a sheath, but it's the equivalent of placing a 14 French sheath. So we can treat a lot more patients with a transfemoral approach as opposed to requiring a transthoracic approach.
Now you've got the first U.S. experience. Obviously, this isn't approved yet, but can we look for an imminent prospective study?
There's been a early experience in Europe where there was 60 patients. That's completed enrollment, and it's still, the data is not yet available, obviously. I expect the U.S. study, the study is going forward now. So the first page, we've done 3 just starting last week. There's been 5 done in this country at this point. But that is obviously part of a study that the FDA is participating in. It's actually a 30-day endpoint. So the hope is that we'll have data quite early with this device.
So that could be by the end of the year or early into 2000?
I would think that we'll easily be able to enroll by the end of the year. It's close. I mean, maybe the end of the year to complete enrollment, but it's
so we won't have to wait till TCT next year before we get this.
That's correct. Yeah. I mean, it's high-risk patients, so it's the patients we're treating commercially now anyway. So I don't think enrollment will be difficult, and everyone's excited about it.
Well, this is just part of the TCT coverage we have going on here, so please check out our cover stories in CardioSource World News and CardioSource World News Interventions for CardioSource. I'm Rick McGuire.